Hello, I'm Runar Reve, and this is my poster about my work that I have done as an intern at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology in Saudi Arabia. It is about applying GWAS on UK Biobank by using enhanced phenotype information based on Ontology-Wide Association Study. Our motivation for doing this work is that genome-wide association studies, reduced down to GWAS, has for a long time been widely used case control method to identify associations between genetic markers and various diseases and traits. However, in studies there is often information that is not taken advantage of due to not being readily available, either because of not being specifically logged while collecting the data or not the intention of the study. That is why we here propose using Ontology-Wide Association Study, shortened down to OWAS, to complete the phenotype profile of a disease by taking advantage of ontologies and their structure before running a normal GWAS. We have done this by data from the UK Biobank. We have set up a website to access our generated data at owas.phenomebrowser.net. If you want to contact me, you can do so by sending an email to runar.reve@caus.edu.sa. But since I'm only an intern at this university and my email won't last forever, please send an email. For long-time contact, please use robert.hohendorf@caus.edu.sa. As stated above, the data that we are using are from the UK Biobank, which contains about 500,000 individuals with vast amount of information about them. For example, their lifestyle, their habits, and the diseases. We are using the individuals' genotype data and their disease data in the disease classifications by the World Health Organization ICD-10. To take full advantage of OWAS, we mapped our disease data into phenotype data with a human phenotype ontology, shortened down to HBO. This gives us a more formal ontology that we can exploit with OWAS and new data that we can study. The mapping was done by my coworker Shania Kafkas by text mining associations between different classifications in literature. Now, how does OWAS actually work? OWAS takes advantage of the structure of the ontology in use, by all of the nodes in the ontology inheriting all of the information of their subnodes. This results in a more filled out ontology with more information overall. When the nodes are done with the inheritance, we can run GWAS on suitable nodes. By looking at figure 1, we see two identical ontologies with two groups of cases, A and B, which is a part of the nodes as seen in the ontology to the left. Then, by looking at the right ontology, which is using OWAS, we see that both groups of cases gets inherited to their supernodes of the ontology. If we then want to study the red node, we see the one with the OWAS has a lot more cases, has both cases, and this will result in a more statistical power result than if we did not use OWAS. Also in this example, we see that we can now study the top node even if it didn't previously contain any information or cases. Using the structure of the ontology, we can run filters specifically for the ontology. We experimented with this by running Sibling Filters. Sibling Filter has the same amount of cases as a normal GWAS, but the control group consists of the cases of the supernode of the studied node. The rest that is not in any of these two groups will be ignored during the study. We can see how this works in the figure number 2. Ontologies can get out of hand quite quickly due to their size and structure. That is why we recommend using a method of browsing the OWAS, either by setting up an app or, as we have done, setting up a website to browse. This gives us a more user-friendly method of browsing the ontology and see how it evolves as the classifications get more and more specific. In the increase of information section, we can see how much OWAS has increased the dataset. For the unique traits that is available to study, it has increased the number by 1,000 new available traits from the ICD-10 and also the HBO. Then, while the total amount of cases over all of the traits was increased by about 1.7 million over the same amount of traits in ICD-10, while increasing by 23 million in HBO. Then if we look at the total amount of cases over the full ontology available, we see that it has increased by a lot more. But this is because the further up you go in the ontology, the less specific it gets, and it repeats the cases a numerous amount of times. Now over to the discussion. There are some qualities one needs to keep in mind while using OWASP. OWASP is highly dependent on the ontology being used. If the ontology is not optimal, this will result in not optimal result. Then if a branch of the ontology contains a lot of cases in your dataset, then this branch might affect superclasses in your ontology to be more similar than expected to that specific branch. Then, by running a lot of GWASs at the same time with the same settings might not be ideal, because some studies need more specific settings to be optimal. As a summary of this poster, we now know that OWASP takes advantage of an ontology to fill out data that was not previously readily available, either because of too few or no cases for some traits. OWASP is done by inheriting all subnodes that for each node of the ontology to fill information. This can result in more cases for traits to increase the statistical power of the study. Thank you for listening and going through my poster. If there's any questions that you want to ask me, just ask. You can also contact me through emails or any other methods available. As a reminder, my name was Runar Reve.